Healthy aging. I have with me holistic nutrition expert Angela Bewick. Yeah,
Hello,
welcome.
Light Cellar friends.
Right on. So, yeah, here we are. We're going to be talking about healthy aging and some of the main factors that you want to be thinking about as we all progress down this path.
If we're lucky.
Yeah, none of us are getting any younger here, and yeah, regardless of what stage you're at in the game, obviously the older we get, the more awareness and attention we give to the aging process, because it's happening, right? It's happening to us.
And the more it's like forced on us because we're like, oh, I can't do what I used to do when I was such and such an age.
Yeah, so if only, right? We had been planning for this. So wherever you're at in your journey, Angela's got some tips for you to help you on your path. And if you have any questions, just post those down below as well. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Having the
I'm
chat.
so excited.
Yeah. So what has got you interested in this topic? Why have you made a study of healthy aging? Why?
Well, for the obvious reasons that we just talked about, I started getting silver, I prefer to call it silver or starlight, in my hair, and I wanted to explore what it means to get to maintain our health span. So we talk about health span in terms, I'm sure everyone in this audience has heard of this.
Right.
Not just lifespan, but including that improving that quality of life.
Yeah. We're not just after quantity of years. No. They got to be quality.
And I started thinking about, we talk a lot about the inner child, like healing the inner child and letting your inner child play and all of those things. And I started to think about, what about our inner elders?
Right.
And how I look back, I'm going to be 45 this year, and I look back on my 25-year-old self, and I think, what? Why did I do that? And so, of course, not to dwell in regret or...
You can't go back.
We can't go back, and all of those things, brought us to where we are right now.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, I'm curious, what would my 65-year-old self say to me now?
Right.
And say...
you were 45, why didn't you? Yeah.
You used to be able to do this, why didn't you keep doing it? So that was the main impetus, just that natural experience I think we all have. That's why we come to the Light Cellar, is because we're interested in maintaining our health or improving our health.
Yeah.
And an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So
yes, that's the way it goes.
So that happened, and then I got invited to teach a class on aging at our local nutrition school, and that brought me into a whole bunch of research.
Yeah. So you're teaching other nutritionists about this.
Yeah. Up and comers. So I looked at that information, and there's so much, and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. There's so much to talk about, as we said before we went on, that we could do like 8 classes on this, because it's an endless topic, and like all topics in health, it's just constantly, the research is constantly changing. For sure. The information is constantly changing. So that is the main impetus of why I wanted to propose this class to you, because I know that your audience is at a quite high level of knowledge around things, but what can we do to help enhance that information? Because like I said, the earlier we start, the easier it is later on in life.
Yeah, and it must fall into those, there's that saying, right? Like focusing on 20% will give you 80% of the results, kind of thing. Like, you can get into the real details and minutia, but I assume that applies, right? Like there's some really key areas that if one can focus on just those without trying to do everything, because that can be overwhelming.
Absolutely.
Learn it all, right? Like what's that key 20% that we need to be mindful of and develop and cultivate.
Yeah, and I think it's the same as with many other life cycles, is we focus on the main, what are you eating? What do you do to move your body? So we want to look at that in the class. Like, not exercise is one little tiny piece of the giant umbrella of movement.
Yeah.
And what are we doing for sleep, to rest and recover our body? What are we doing for our cognitive health, which is a huge concern. I mean, a lot of people you talk to, they're like, I'm afraid of losing mobility, but I'm also really afraid of losing this powerhouse up here. And so we all know someone with dementia or Alzheimer's or anything like that. So ways in which we can what are the factors that we can do? 20 to 25% of our health is determined by our genetics, but the rest of it, mostly, I would say, whenever we talk about numbers, it's a sliding scale, but but most of it is within our control.
For sure.
So what can we do to promote that health and longevity?
And maybe let's get like the biggest question out of the way first, which is, is there a point at which it's too late?
I don't think so. I think if you're still alive.
Yeah. Okay, good. So
there are, of course there are exceptions. There's no absolutes.
For sure.
In anything.
Yeah. But as a heuristic,
Yeah, exactly. So it's, we do, I think it's never too late. And it's never too early. I mean, a lot of people watching this will be like, what do you know? You're 45 years old. You don't know anything. But but there's never a wrong time to start thinking about this stuff. And I think, having the experience of researching a lot of this, which a lot of people don't necessarily do for a living, I think there's a lot to share that we can all.
And I would disagree. I bet you there's a lot of 45-year-olds, even 35-year-olds that, they're feeling the effects of aging, right? They're already, experiencing it.
And also, this is my big ambitious plan, which I realized when I started studying this class that I was teaching previously, was I want us to change our thinking about aging. We have such a narrow, negative, pessimistic view of aging.
Yeah.
And part of it is because we see it as all the things we lose.
Right.
But I don't think we think about the things that we gain.
Right.
And so that's another thing I want to explore in the class, is how can we create a mindset where we're not just focusing on the loss, we're focusing on the things that we gain as well, and how we can enhance that through the choices that we make.
Cool. Yeah. And what immediately brought to my mind was when you said, like cultivating our inner elder, right? I think we exist in a society, unfortunately, that doesn't have a lot of elders in the kind of the most noble,
we made
wise
elders
sense.
Elderly. We turned them into the elderly.
Yeah.
And they're like weak.
Yeah.
Worthless. I mean, this is the perception. This is not what they actually are, but it's kind of we put them away.
Right.
We kind of, we've created a culture where we don't have time to take care of them, as we used to do. And so we've separated generations in many ways, which I don't think is a healthy kind of foundation for good community, but here we are.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the long range goal.
Yeah.
Just, to change the world. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
We can do it.
Well, we start one thing, one person at a time, right?
Exactly. One generation at a time.
Right. Yeah.
Hopefully by the time we're older folk, we won't be isolated in the ways that some people are.
So let's start with maybe, you had already mentioned it. A lot of people have a big concern about, physical kind of degradation is one thing, but it's that mental, what do you see are some of the biggest contributing factors to people losing their minds? Losing their minds.
We have a real, I think, again, I don't want to speak in absolutes. There's always areas of gray when we're dealing with individual people, but we have a couple things working against us. One is we have a real toxicity problem in our environment.
Yeah.
And so things like heavy metals, poor fats, all of these things that our brain actually needs are often things that we grow up with, especially the generation right ahead of ours, like our parents' generation, where the introduction of processed foods and fast foods and all of those things came. So there's that. There's the inflammation aspect, which is connected. All of these things are connected, right? Too much toxicity will contribute to inflammation. Too much inflammation is considered toxic. There's all these factors. We also have this stress that our modern day culture has sort of inundated us with. We have no idea what the long-term effects of EMF, that in the way that we're using it in the past 50 years, 40 years, has on our nervous system, right? The brain is part of the nervous system. So that's an electrical system. So of course these things impact us, and sometimes in ways that we don't really fully understand yet. So those are some. I think movement is a big one as well.
Right.
We know that movement plays a huge role in our cognitive function.
Yeah.
We also know that blood sugar plays a big role in our cognitive function.
Right.
They call
Type
Alzheimer's.
3,
Yeah.
type 3 diabetes. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's these kinds of
Mm-hmm.
things. Again, there are some things that happened perhaps when we were younger that may be more difficult to kind of turn around, but I don't think it's ever too late to.
Yeah.
Our body is an incredibly powerful healer. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you said something that was curious when, most people think movement, they think exercise. And you're like, well, movement's not just exercise.
My superhero, if I may say so, is named Katie Bowman. She's like
Right.
a movement goddess.
Yeah.
She even has what attracted me most to her is she has, I'll shout out her handle, which is Nutritious Movement.
Yeah.
That's her website and everything. But she has a really beautiful, creative way of thinking of movement. She calls it nutrition for your body, like movement nutrition.
Movement vitamins, right?
Exactly. And as a person who's interested in nutrition, of course it's beyond. Holistic nutrition means not just what you put in your mouth, but all of the things you think. What are you doing with your body? And so for her to introduce that concept, I was just like, oh my God, I love this. So I kind of went deep into her work a number of years ago, and the evidence is just unbelievable. Like when you look at all of the research around the benefits of exercise, and I mean, we saw this over the last couple of years, right? The importance of moving your body. And she talks about things like, right now I'm sitting in this chair, it looks like I'm not moving, but gravity is pulling on me right now.
Right.
This is a movement force. This is a force on our bodies.
Right.
But this chair is my nutrition right now.
Right.
So how much, this is the food that my body is eating. So how much chair nutrition am I getting in a day?
Right.
Versus walking nutrition.
Are you overeating on the chair?
Am I, going a little hard on the chair food.
Yeah.
So
too much sofa.
Yeah, exactly. So none of these things are good or bad necessarily, but it's almost like eating an apple is incredibly nutritious if you're not allergic to apples. But you can eat a lot of apples, but are you getting is that a healthy diet?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
So I look at movement like that, in that way. So how can we change up our loads to create, we have automated everything, like all of our convenience.
Right, I know.
Is at the cost of movement. Even when you and I were kids, we rolled down the window. This is a flexion movement on your elbow and your shoulder.
Yeah.
Now you just press a button. So what are you losing in that convenience? And so how can we, incorporate more? How can we create a life where movement is just a natural part of it? And when we look at places like blue zones and where we see a lot of longevity, that's one of the key things. They're not going to the gym and working out. They just move all the time. It's part of their life. So what are the ways in which we can bring that into our daily life?
Cool.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Don't you want to go for a walk now? We're just looking at these beautiful trees out of Malcolm's window. It's like,
Yeah.
Trees even, that's an interesting thing about movement. Like, do you ever see that study where they were like, had a dome and they were trying to create like these livable domes for whatever, can we put this on the surface of Mars and live in it and stuff?
Okay, yeah.
So they had trees in it, but the trees had no wind. And they all kind of basically collapsed. Like trees are a perfect example of something that shows you how much it needs inputs, movement inputs.
Yeah, that gets into the topic of stress, right? Like there's positive stress.
Hormesis is something we're going to talk about. So hormetic stress, how can you have little bits of something that could be toxic to you at larger levels?
Right.
But you take, and it's almost like homeopathic, same sort of principle, but you take a little bit of a cold plunge. Yeah. And then you get out of it. And your body now has to repair whatever was sort of, quote, damaged afterwards. And it repairs it stronger. It's just like exercising. Yeah. Repairs the muscle back stronger. And you become more robust. A more robust human. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So when kind of thinking about this class that we got coming up. So it's in June 28th. June 28th, last Tuesday of June. Yeah, Tuesday. So it's a 7 to 9. Yeah. Who do you think should be there? Who needs to be in that class? I think all of you should be there. If you're in Calgary. Even if you're not in Calgary, take a road trip.
Well, because it's also people can tune in online as well.
They can tune in online. So you could come in physically. Yes, you could come in from anywhere in the world. In fact, I would like to see someone on each continent in this class. So.
There we
go. Everybody is welcome. I think, like we said, it's something, you're never too old to work on this stuff. Some of it will be more relevant to you depending on your age at this time, but all of it is going to be relevant in one way or another, because even if it's not you, I mean, we all have hopefully friends of many different ages that we could, we'll do an elixir or a tea or something. We don't know exactly what we're going to make. We're going to make a little treat, and that is something that you can take with you and sort of make for all the people in your life.
Right. So there's a practical component of some kind of like recipe ideas.
Yeah.
And then the big broad topics, kind of breaking that down.
Yeah, and question and answer. Like, I think a lot of people have so many questions that they would love to ask a holistic nutritional expert about.
Which, if they were to seek somebody out, I mean, like, this is one of the benefits of coming to a class is like they get that almost one-on-one time with you for a fraction of what it would cost to hire you. I
find too that people will come with questions that you didn't know that you had.
Right.
So they'll ask a question and you'll be like, oh my God, what is the answer to that question? I didn't even think about that. That's the beauty of having a bunch of brains in a room together, is you kind of create information that nobody, ideas and things like that other people don't think of on their own necessarily.
Yeah.
So,
cool. So I mentioned at the kind of top of our little chat here that if you did have any questions, definitely post them down below. We're going to carry those forward into the class, and it's going to be June 28th from 7 to 9 p.m. So you can tune in anywhere you are in the world. So we're going to live stream it, and there'll be a group of folks here in person as well.
Yes.
And so if you go to lightcellar.ca, you could register, kind of look at all the details, everything that way. Anything that you want to kind of share to finish this off?
It's going to be fun.
I
like to have fun. I don't like to take things too seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously enough at a certain point, but yeah. Light and breezy, my friends. It'll be a nice 2 hours of just soaking in some nice information, having a lovely little beverage. Yeah,
some practical tips, strategies, things that we should all be thinking about, So picking your brain of all this kind of broad research that you've been doing on this topic, things that you teach to other nutritionists, what's that 20% that we can all focus on that's going to give us 80% of the results?
Absolutely.
All right.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you, Malcolm.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Angela. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Share this with somebody who you think should be in the class, and we look forward to seeing you there. Go to lightcellar.ca for details and registration. Bye for now.
Thank you.